Hi guys, this is Harshit Bhardwaj, and together I have a fantastic guest with me, Atul Tyagi, who has just been recommended this year for 2020 UPSC recommendations. And Atul is an interesting character because we spent very little time just before the mains, and the answers that I saw, I didn't know what else to improve in those answers, but we still did some fine tuning. Hopefully, that helped in some ways. And Atul's secured a 291 rank, right? AIR 291 and 264 in the English literature optional. Is that right, Atul?
Yes, yes,
Yes.
sir.
And uh, surprisingly, not surprisingly, because I don't know Atul for long, but I've just starting to know him. He is going to give another shot next year. Hopefully, he'll get into the areas that he wants, which is foreign services. So we'll talk to Atul, and as a teacher of English literature optional, somebody who's been trying to teach for last 4 years and have seen many students, good students stopped by the prelims, some good students getting to mains and then getting nervous and panicky. So a lot of areas we'll talk not a lot about the content and the academic side, but more about the mental strength and preparation strategies, specifically with English literature, because it's a huge big gray area. Students don't have mentors. There is very little uh, resource preparation material, very few coaching classes here and there. An academy seems to be the only one with a proper course. Nobody else is able to put together a proper course. So with that kind of uh, apprehensions and confusions, and there are so many English literature graduates, master's students, honor students, and they end up picking something else. So we'll discuss all that. So Atul, sorry for the long intro. I'm really delighted to be talking to you.
So
And
much, sir. So much.
let's start with the first thing that I always want to ask around. Why do you want to serve in the Indian Foreign Services? And I want really not, I want a very English literature kind of answer, which is logical, which should be logical and not based around any flimsy bullshit. So I want you to convince me why, because why is very important.
Yeah. So it's very practical that
Uh,
it's a symbiotic relationship. I can give a lot to the service based on my interest and my talents, and
mm,
the service can give a lot to me.
mm,
So I like to learn languages. I like to travel. I like that formal setup. I like diplomacy, and I find that foreign service is relatively less recognized service. Of course,
mm,
IAS, IPS is there. You get a lot of direct public to public contact, but a lot of our strategic interests they can be put forth at the international platform. So I'm
mm,
sure I can contribute very well to that, and I'll gain a lot of satisfaction from that service.
That's okay. I'll take that. You're quite straightforward about it. No flimsy here. Yes, foreign services is really exciting. I uh, had a fortune to interview Vikas Swarup back, I think, in
Mm-hmm.
2015 or 14, when his book that became a film, Slumdog Millionaire, that came
Right.
out. So I didn't know even, there that he was the Indian diplomat in England. I knew that he is a diplomat, but I didn't know he was based in London and what he was and what he then he become. I think the spokesperson, Indian spokesperson. What's that? Uh, Not the secretary, but something really significant later on.
Right. Mm-hmm.
So he discussed his journey with the book, and I was really not surprised. I was shocked by the intense scrutiny of literary stuff that he was talking about. And then I kept thinking that this is the kind of people who serve right at the top. They are masters of behavior and observations in people, and of course words and communication. Coming back to this point, what do you think is the most important aspect of English writing, English literature answer writing? Uh, if you were to summarize it in 5 minutes, what would you say the most important aspect? Apart from the content knowledge, that is a given.
Mhm.
Textual knowledge, that is a given. So students
Right.
are really good with the texts. They understand the theories and everything. What is the most important aspect?
So, especially for those who have a background like me, this is a whole other ball game. So, the main things that you have to have is conciseness. No, before that, you need to have rationality, logic, and your language has to be concise. So,
Right.
brevity is the soul of wit. So, that's what I would say. There's a very definite pattern that I've been following in all my answers. They're very simplistic,
Hmm.
nothing flowery, nothing extravagant. So, for that, I would suggest everybody to go and watch your YouTube channel. I watched 3 or 4 of those videos. They're very brief and they give you very good idea.
Hmm.
So, limited number of paragraphs. For a 15 marker, I had one introduction, one conclusion, and 3 main body paragraphs. For
Hmm.
20 markers, maybe 4 or 5 main body paragraphs. Each paragraph starts with a hook, which right away tells you what is your position.
Hmm.
No beating around the bush. Very precise, very logical. Then, after the hook, you go on to explain whatever position you have taken right away. No background, no nothing. And in conclusion, it's the simplest thing. You basically just have to say hence proved in some
Ah,
form or the other. That
ah.
whatever I put forth and my hook, I've been able to justify that through my examples. So these 3 things I'll say: rationality, logic, and conciseness of language
Absolutely. Do you
for
think
UPSC.
for UPSC, but do you think rationality, logic, and conciseness also works when you become a diplomat or an officer? That's the
Precisely.
communication
The
you need.
optional, yes, the optional is a great plus point that you have. That's definitely going to help you in the service later on.
Let's put it the other way around. I think if you maybe not maybe I'm pretty sure that UPSC is looking for students who are able to demonstrate this logic,
Precisely.
rationality, and succinctness or conciseness. Not beating around the bush. Whatever you're saying, it should have a logic behind it, and you should understand that logic, and you should be able to present that logic well. So
Right.
one thing that I think the entire gist of my teaching is just this. So you very well summarized it, and I'm happy that you agree with this, and you've already proven it once, and I'm sure you'll prove it again with the higher score.
So,
The structure is very simple, as you said. The introduction, where you present a hook and your position, which has to be very, very clear. And then you expound upon or substantiate that position with examples and references from the text. That's it. There is
right.
no rocket science.
Absolutely.
Okay, what about a question that I have got from students? They wanted me to ask you this. Do you believe in standard interpretations of text? Do you believe there is such thing as a standard interpretation of text? Or as UPSC aspirants, everyone talks about originality. Do you think you can take whatever stance or position that you want? Standard
Absolutely.
interpretation versus the other way.
So I'm not quite sure what is standard interpretation, but I studied in silos. So it was just me, myself. So
Ah,
whatever interpretation you have, as long as you are able to justify it logically, again, as I said, from the
yeah,
text, then you can go ahead.
exactly. And in my experience, looking at hundreds of answers, I always encourage students to take whatever position you want, but I know they're not able to logically justify it. So
Right.
by standard interpretation, I mean interpretations which are most easily achieved, right? So Jane Austen feminism. Of course, you can argue that she is not actually a feminist. She is the opposite of it. You can argue that. You can create a case study. But we don't have the scope for that. We only get 6 months to prepare and only about a week to study Jane Austen and only about 10 minutes to write that answer. So more or less, you try to go for the interpretation that is most easily achieved by your logic, which you understand.
Right.
So don't try to write a research paper, first of all. So do you agree with that? So that is a standard interpretation.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely.
as long as you can logically justify it, and I as a teacher can tell you that you won't be able to logically justify anything off the track. That doesn't mean it's not possible. maybe some students can, some really good students, they do surprise me with stuff that is research level stuff. They just somehow arrived upon that scenario and then they logically prove that as well. So if you can logically arrive and prove it, then any interpretation is fine. There is no standard interpretation. You are free to do whatever you want, but just prove me with textual references. End of story. So you agree with
Absolutely.
that, right?
The more simplistic it is, I think
Yes,
that's better.
exactly.
What comes after your reading, just express it and
Yep.
substantiate it.
Because there is so much in every text. I mean, James Joyce, Virginia Woolf, we can't ever finish interpreting them. So there is, so that's answer writing is something I'm pretty happy with your answer writing. Let's talk about the logistics of it. 19 questions, 3 hours. How do you prepare for that? And I think 19 questions to get a good score, you got to write all those questions well.
Yes, yes.
That's the key, right?
Yeah.
300 plus.
I would say consistency is the key. I didn't go for investing too much time in a particular answer so that it's very good. I just
Hmm.
ensure that I write decent answers throughout. All
Hmm.
those answers are decent enough. So I'm forgetting that there was something like maybe 20-mark question is for in 11 minutes.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, 15-mark question is for 9 minutes, and a 10-marker is for 7 minutes. So
So
that
that's
was
it.
how I. That's
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. So
So while I
you
was I,
practiced with
I
that.
was giving yes, yes. While I was giving mock test in the beginning, I had a timer with me. So
Hmm.
while I was giving individual answers, so that timer, and once I started giving full tests,
Hmm.
then just watch the clock and have a rough idea.
That's very crucial. There's so many students I know who uh, only started writing about a month or 2 months before the mains,
Mm.
and of course they struggled. They're not able to finish the paper. So I see so many students, they're not able to finish the paper. So it's the simplest thing, but you got to keep this in mind right from the beginning.
Yes, yes.
Now when the students start, they they tell me that they write an answer in 1 hour of 200 word, right? And then so I tell them it's okay, you right now you look around, you refer to text, you refer internet, it's fine. But we have to get from this 1 hour 60 minutes to 7 minutes or 9 minutes. That's the goal. So I don't know how you do it, it's different for everyone, but that is the goal. Because when you're practicing for mains, ideally, I don't know how you did it, when you've done the prelims, you got the results out, you should be able to write 3 hour papers in 3 hours or three and a
Absolutely.
half hours. If you're not able to do it 2 months before the exam, you won't be able to do it in the exam, right?
Yes.
And so your paper was fine. You completed every question. You finished it in full.
I was able to finish it even during mock test, so that was not an issue. One thing I like to add is probably for beginners, there's a
Hmm.
lot of inertia. We are judging our answer even while we are writing it. So we
Hmm.
want it to be a perfect answer right away.
Yeah.
This might work when we have a lot of time. In UPSC, all you go for is consistency. A mediocre, not mediocre, like a decent answer.
Yeah.
Just
Above
keep writing
average.
decent
Yeah.
answers.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. 19 questions. I'll say around 10 really 10 good ones, 4 5 exceptional, and 4 5 above average. That'll do. That's 300 plus. But
Pretty
if you
much. Pretty
write
much.
10 average answers, one or two very good answers, because you will be able to write at least few very good exceptional answers. Everyone has a strong area. Then you will
Yes.
definitely write some really not good answers, two or three. That's gonna happen. But at least you finish, you present your views, and it should be above average, in the vicinity of good. That can only happen with practice.
Yes.
You brought a very good point about inertia, and being a author and an editor and publisher. That's the biggest reason why books always a lot of books remain incomplete, because the author is trying to produce the best perfect chapter or the perfect book. They keep revisiting, going back and forth to make it perfect. So what we have learned professionally is to work in drafts. And that's what I tell students, that your first answers or first set of answers will be shit, which is Ernest Hemingway said, the first draft of everything is shit. He said it
Pretty
formally.
much.
So you work the first time you've written a book, it is not good. You can't perfect it. It doesn't matter how many times you revisited it. So you if you work in drafts. So the way I work with, because with the very first class we start writing answers. Those are drafts. So you wrote five answers. That's a draft. Next time you write five answers, it's a second draft. Then the next time you'll write. So that in drafting, you are taking my feedback and your insights are also developing. And students from non-literature background struggle with technical terms, figures of speech, using them in the answers and all that. That happens when you write more and more. Incrementally, it happens, I think. So as you said, it's a very, very good point that don't try to make your first few set of answers perfect. Just write them, take in the feedback, write the next one, then take in the feedback. And I have seen this time after time. I've seen the proof of it. Students who start off really bad in 3 to 4 months, if they're sincerely writing, that's one thing that is missing. If they're sincerely writing in 3 to 4 months, I'll show you some answers actually. I'll take some more of your time later or later this week. Send you some answers of students that I feel are really, really good. And they have done that in 3 to 4 months from zero, when they couldn't put together a 150 marker. And then they're writing 20 markers, which surprise and amaze me. So I think the process is simple and it works. You have to work in drafts. You have to practice enough answers, and you have to keep in mind that you have to cut down the time as you proceed. So timing is an issue. You should be able to just, everything is there. You should practice so much that when you're writing it down, it should just happen in a flow, and that can only happen with practice. So I'll talk about the issue of sincerity. In my experience, all the successful aspirants that I have seen and met, be it Navendu Shekhar, be it Priya Gupta, be it you, be it Jyotsna, be it so many others, sincerity is something that I find very common. And I struggle to define sincerity. I understand what it is, but I'm not able to articulate it well. I speak about it in every class. Sincerity is when I said, Atul, let's have a Zoom call, you got back to me soon enough. I got delayed, but you were there on time. So how you do one thing defines and reflects how you do everything else. Right? When you were sending me answers, as per my schedule. I asked, okay, send me today, send me tomorrow, do this. You got back quickly. I knew. And Navendu, he was an IITian. He was non-English guy, and he only joined my test series. So no classes, nothing else. And I had about 20-25 students at the time in that batch. So there were a lot of students. He was the only one who was returning answers on time. And more than that, he was the only one who was actually implementing feedback absolutely as I told him. And he did it for the entire 14, 16 tests. And he went through the syllabus and he said, sir, I know nothing about it. I am completely surrendering and relying upon you. That's it. I am an engineer. I understand things, and his answers, I can't use his answers in my classes, but I show it privately to some students. His answers are copybook examples of exactly what I teach. And I can't write those answers. I mean, I can just talk about, I always have this discussion with the students. If I were to write a 3-hour paper, I won't be able to finish it because I'm not practiced enough. I probably won't be able to write as good an answer as you can. Right? Students can. But whatever I teach, Navendu's answers, even practice answers, encapsulated all that. So that was the sign of sincerity. So everyone, I don't know you that well enough, but I can definitely say that you are a very sincere person. Sincere as in whatever you take upon, you do it with all honesty and genuineness. You don't beat around the bullshit. You don't create excuses. Whatever got to be done, got to be done. You don't moan, you don't complain. It's just keep it simple that okay, this got to be done. Okay, let's just get it done. That's it. And do it this with discipline, do it with honesty. So students, when I say you, I'll give you 4 months. If you write 200, 250 answers in 4 months, I can assure you, you will be there. 90% of the students don't do that. I'm saying this like on a public forum. I say this to them. I said 90% of you will not write 250 answers. And it's as simple as that. If you write 250 answers, you'll get there. So writing for 3 to 4 months, that's all it is. And it's as simple as that. So why are you not able to do it? So forget everything else. I think sincerity and discipline are right there at the top. Everything happens. I've seen students who couldn't write grammatically correct answers in the beginning, because in an academy, everyone can join in, everyone sits in the class. So I would be really, in a difficult situation. I can't say that you can't even write English. How do you supposed to write UPSC answers? But then I gradually tell them some basic. A lot of students have subject verb agreement, basic issues, article issues. They come from non-English backgrounds or non-English. I came from non-English background. I studied in Kendriya Vidyalaya, then I studied at Meerut University, which was all Hindi medium. So I understood that, okay, so those who couldn't write grammatically right answers in the beginning, and there is one specific student, I can't name him, and I was absolutely helpless. I was like, he's so sincere. He's in every class. He attends every special class. He listens to everything. He sends answers. So I just told them the right specific ideas. I can't grammatically correct his answers. I told him that I can't do this. So he called me and he said, what can I do? I'm talking about sincerity. He was sincere to try and get it done. And he just wanted to do it. He was genuinely invested in this. The skill set was missing. So what I'm saying is skill set is overrated. Talent is overrated. Sincerity and discipline and your genuine desire is more important. So he called me and he was like, sir, I understand I can't write in English. He can't even couldn't speak English. And I said, see, I'm really worried. You're a very good student. So he said, what can I do? I suggested, why don't you find some English teacher in your neighborhood, some school teacher, and work on your English, just basic writing. You're an intelligent chap. He did that. And he came back. Last year, he was in the Academy batch. He came back this year. And it is a complete transformation because his logic was sound. His understanding was sound. His intelligence was sound. Just language was the barrier. So he sorted that. I told him it's a small barrier. You just need to work on it. Don't be offended. Don't feel that you can't do it. Your logic is fine. Your understanding of the text is fine. Everything else is fine. Just work on the logic. So his sincerity, which fueled his hard work and his persistence, now he's writing probably better than most 90% of the students. So that sincerity is what takes you places. I have not been a sincere guy most of my life until I saw. Actually, I learned this from you guys. When I saw Navendu was the first one where I saw this. And then I saw it seriously, consistently. And it is something I realized that this is the one common factor amongst, and not just UPSC aspirants, other people. When I see, I talk to, as part of my podcast and my professional network, I talk to people who are like hugely successful startup founders and all that. They have this. So it's such a small thing. What do you think? What do you think? I want to know what you think about it. This, because I speak too much. I'm a teacher. I want to
So
know what you feel about this.
I feel that the way the word discipline has been taught to us in school, it has a negative connotation. For me, sincerity means immersing yourself in something that you enjoy to the hilt. So the way they say sacrifice, so UPSC aspirants have to sacrifice a lot. So that means that you're doing something that you're not willing to do. You have to
Yeah.
give up on something. You have to to sacrifice something, but I have a very positive connotation of sacrifice. It's like something is so important to me. I'm enjoying something so much that the rest of the world is a blur for me.
Hmm.
So, especially when I was preparing for prelims, a lot of people feel it's a burden, but I enjoyed it because it was fun reading about history, geography, economy. When it comes to answer writing, I enjoyed those 3 hour sessions. So I would say you're sincere once you enjoy something, the rest of the things become meaningless to you. This you're
Hmm.
enjoying it so much, you automatically be sincere. You don't have to put any attempt, any effort towards it. That's my
Hmm.
understanding of sincerity and discipline.
Very, very intriguing point, because I think it boils down to the same thing. Why the hell are you doing it? Has
Absolutely,
anyone forced
absolutely
you?
true.
You're doing it for the wrong reasons, then you will complain and moan and you will be unsuccessful. If you're doing it for the right reasons, you'll do it happily. You'll go through the motions. You'll know how much it takes. You're willing for that, right? You go to the gym, you have to build your body like Ritik Roshan. You must understand how much it's going to take. So if you're happy, so a lot of students, a lot of people are in the victim zones where they feel, okay, we have to do it, we have to study 10 hours. I always say this: nobody's forcing you, nobody has forced you. So unless you're doing it out of your own free will, when we study Paradise Lost, I talk about this a lot, that this is what free will is, that you are doing what you're doing, understanding the consequences, the good, bad, or the ugly. Nobody has forced you. There is no predestined God's will. It is given to you. So Satan always had a choice. Lucifer always had a choice. We see it in so many books that he could go back, repent, and make it all back to normal. But he chose not to. But he continuously kept saying that it's God's destined, predestined design. It's bullshit. If you're preparing for UPSC, or if you're preparing for whatever you're doing, okay, my parents forced me, my parents expected me to do this, I'm supposed to be. That is all. Just cut the crap. If you don't want it hard enough for the right reasons, that's why I asked you this question, the first question. Some people say, I want to be an IAS because I want to serve the society. Fine. No, no, be a bit more practical. That's not the entire reason you're going for IAS. I don't buy that bullshit. Okay, nobody buys that. So of course you can say, I want to be in the police services because I want to do this. Fine, but everyone knows that it's the lure of power and your uh, the potential and the possibility to do so much. That's
Right.
probably the right high. But a 21-year-old student, it's difficult for them to get this, right? So for them, it's an exam that they need to crack, and it's a big exam. Let's give it a shot. Let's see what happens. All bullshit reasons. So you got to know, like you are quite clear, and this example of sincerity is quite straightforward. That if you are doing it for a specific reason and you know why you're doing it, everything else will fall in place. You will not complain about waking up at 4. Nobody is forcing you to. So don't moan when you wake up at 4. You will study for 12 hours if needed. You won't complain to anyone else. Nobody has forced you, neither God, nor your parents, nor the society. It's your choice. So you'll do everything happily. Whatever it takes, you will do it.
Right.
And you'll respect those who will help you around. You'll appreciate all the help. It's not, a teacher is not helping you, teaching you because you're paying him fees. He or she is contributing to your journey in his own way, and you'll appreciate that. Those are all the right ideas. Yeah, you
Yes,
agree?
absolutely.
Okay, so let's wrap it up. You seem like a quite easygoing and cool guy who hasn't let the studies affect. You enjoyed it, which is the ideal way to do it. But it's a lot of students struggle, especially if you don't clear prelims the first time or the second time and the third time. How do you keep the fire burning? This was your second attempt, right? Second prelims,
Yeah,
20
the
twenty
one that I
twenty.
gave just now.
Yeah,
Yes.
2020 was your second prelims. So the
No,
first one
2020
you
means last.
The last one that you didn't make it. This the last one, the very recent one, you didn't make it.
Yeah, and the last one was my first one.
Last one was your first one. So you got through in your first attempt,
Yeah.
right? So you probably now
Yes.
understanding what it means to fail in the process. Right? This is the first time. I mean,
Uh,
it's a little not uh,
absolutely. Absolutely.
not failing per se, because you already have a letter of recommendation in your hands. So, but imagine you must have friends who've been trying for 2 years, 3 years. You must have people who are good, which you think are good and deserve to clear through, but they're not able to. There are thousands of such aspirants who deserve to be, who are sincere, who are doing everything right. What do you think? I'm putting you in a hypothetical situation because it's not your experience. Maybe a bit of experience based on this prelims, but you know why you got distracted and complacent and all that. But students who
Yeah.
give their 100%, who deserve to be there, and who you must know so many students like this. How do you what do you tell them to keep going? Because I have some students this year who are in that space. They were really expecting to get it through after second or third attempt, and they couldn't. So what do you how do what logic do you give them to keep going, and what can they change differently?
uh, yeah, first, as to what they can change, I feel that there's something must be lacking in the strategy or the luck. If it's luck factor, you can't do much about it. But if there's something lacking in your practice tests or your answer writing style, that's very much workable.
Mm.
How to go on with it, I'll again say, if I don't know whether it's practical or not, but if you're enjoying the process, then you don't need a push from any external factor. If you're really enjoying reading, writing, meanwhile, of course, there'll be a lot of struggles, your familial struggles, financial struggles. So you have to harden yourself for that. But as to whether I want to continue giving this exam, if you're enjoying reading every other day, looking at current affairs, looking at UPSC websites, so if you have that fun part in it, then nothing's gonna stop you. You're not gonna stop yourself.
Mm.
That's, but it might not be practical. I agree with that.
Yeah, that's yeah. But they'll say, okay, yeah, I have to. I was given 3 years. Now the 3 years are over. This is somewhere some this is something slightly controversial, but I believe it to be true because I applied it to my life. I think it is your life. So every aspirant, they are in different circumstances. Some get married early. Some are like a lot of girls. I teach a lot of female students, about 90% of them. So in our country, like there is a pressure about getting married or find a job, whatever. So everyone is in a peculiar individual circumstance, but at the end of the day, it is your life. So now if you're a 20 plus, 21, 22, 23, 24, whatever age, you're old enough to run a multi-million empire, right? People in America have done it. So they did it. And you're appearing for UPSC, that means you should demonstrate traits of an officer right now,
True,
right?
true.
Not after the exam, not once you're trained. You got to demonstrate that tenacity, that intensity, that integrity right now. It is your life. And as you said, if you want it hard enough, you will get it done. So you, whatever excuses or problems or circumstances you have in your life, they will always be there. They are not going anywhere. Not now, not when you become an officer, not 10 years down the line. They will be there. They'll only increase. The only thing that you have to work upon is how tenacious you are in handling them, how indifferent you can become to those problems not affecting you, how strong skinned you can become. If you cannot demonstrate that now, I don't think you'll become a good officer. You'll make a very good officer. So you got to be a warrior now. You don't lose the fight now. All the excuses, it's not personal to you. सबको लगता है कि my life is different. मेरे साथ ही ऐसा क्यों हो रहा है? That's what everyone feels. कि मैं special circumstances में हूँ. That's not the case. It is, so everyone is I won't use the word fucked up, Everyone feels they are fucked up and उनके साथ ही ऐसा हो रहा है, but ऐसा नहीं है. So when you are really down and out, do you still want it? Do you still want to give it one last shot? I tell them कि माइक टाइसन आपके पास सामने आए and you know कि कुछ नहीं हो सकता, मतलब you can't fight Mike Tyson, but I won't want you to back down. I'll वो कहेगा कि यार एक तू मार भाई पहले, you give it. I'll say कि whatever you can, just throw your body, mind, soul, everything in hitting him the first time around. Maybe वो appreciate करके कहे कि यार कमाल कर दिया, मैं डर के नहीं भागा. Yeah, you're not cowering in fear. So don't cower in fear. Don't let whatever is happening around you. Ira Single, was it Ira Single? She cleared in
Yes, yes.
18, 17,
2015.
15. So what a tremendous example we have. And there's so many others, right? So if you're a normal human being with above average intelligence and enough money to pay for an academy, you have everything, you know, everything, financial, physical, everything. So all those who are out there who are cowering in fear because you failed prelims or you failed mains or you're not feeling what to do, if you really wanted, give it your best shot. Die trying, but don't quit. Die trying. I would say just because if you give your best shot, na Atul, I have experienced this in my life. I knew I'm walking into a presentation or in a meeting, which is like I run an advertising agency, by the way, and we're walking into a pitch, and we know we are not going to get this because there are people who are 100 times bigger than us who are pitching, and it's a big account. I walk in there knowing I'm going to walk out empty handed, but I walk in with I'm going to throw the best punch because I don't give a damn now. I'm not scared. I'm not being nervous or panicky about the situation. So I've done it time and time again. You give your best shot. So what happens is the result is still negative. I still walk out empty handed, but I'm not feeling down and out. When I walk out of that room, I don't feel down and out. I feel better than everyone else. And it translates, it always translates that confidence, that vigor that you show. They always come back, they always follow you back. If not this, they'll say okay, let's do this. So if a UPSC aspirant, 10 lakh students, out of which 800 900 get through, what about the rest? Should they spend their lives as failures? They shouldn't. PM Modi said that we should find a way to get at least 2 3,000 of those top aspirants, didn't he? Which is a very good idea, I think. But those, what I feel the problem with that idea is that all those who don't make it, they are broken, they're wrecked, they feel like they're good for nothing. They couldn't do this, so they are not good for anything else. They live with angst and disillusionment and disappointment. That is the difference between you and somebody who's just 2 or 3 points away from the line.
Absolutely.
That's the only difference. So, final message to my English literature aspirants: give them hope. I want you to give them hope, please, and why they should pick this optional. Why do you think it is one of the best optionals overall?
I can't say it's one of the best. It depends upon
Good.
individuals.
One of the best. Okay, one of the best, not the best.
Sure. One of the best in the sense that it prepares you a lot. Even as I said later on in your job, your words are your strength. So it gives you a lot of practical skills, a lot of philosophical skills. You have a larger point of view, and practically speaking, it's I feel it's one of the most fun optionals, which can lighten up your preparation. It can make you refreshed, and it's very much scoring as well.
It is scoring, you think?
I do feel so. I mean, if even if you put up an average, you can cross 250 mark, which is not bad. There are others which go for 300 plus, but I feel 260, 270 is a good enough score for any option.
Very good. I agree with you on that. And I tell everyone that if you don't have to score 250 plus in English, that means you are a kick ass answer writer. Right?
And that will reflect in all your other GS,
Yes.
ethics, essays for sure.
Exactly. And the difference between 250 and 300 is simply your consistency of your answer in the exam room. Not your preparation, not your talent or skill set. In the exam room, what you do, that is that 50, 30, 40, 50 marks. So that comes to practice. But 250 is a good, 260, 250 is a good level to reach, benchmark to reach. And it makes it easier. So for history, you have to achieve aim 300, right? For geography, history, you need to, aim 300 plus. For English literature, you
Plus,
only
yeah,
need 250 plus. It makes things a little more easier. So,
it does.
but I think 300 is, but again, not a lot of students gave this optional. So the average is, I don't know how many gave this year, 15, 20, 40, I don't know. We don't have the numbers. So if enough people, enough students give with this exam, the score is going to get better. So this is one of the major reasons why students don't pick. They feel that it's less scoring and it's uh, the preparation. So how did you prepare? You prepared yourself.
I did everything on my own, yeah.
You did everything yourself. And the
But
answer
I
writing,
have a background as well.
yeah, you have a background. But see, somebody coming from an engineering background, a lot of engineers are picking English literature. I don't know for what reason, but they're coming in and they're doing well. So you think answer writing is the area where you definitely need help. Students definitely mean
Absolutely.
must find somebody to do
Absolutely.
it. Everything else you can do on your own. And did you read a lot of Spark Notes, Cliff Notes, Smoop?
I did. I'm not saying that I did not touch it at all, but
Hmm.
certain poems which, even after multiple readings, three, four readings, it's not making much sense, then I'll definitely go and refer it. But not much. Only once if you are not understanding on your own, then you take a little bit of help.
Okay, so mostly you relied upon your reading of the original texts, right?
Almost, yes. Everything.
Almost most of the time, which is fine because you're doing it. It's a difficult syllabus, and so you read everything and then you started answer writing, or you were doing it simultaneously.
uh, One text is finished. So what I started with is syllabus. It gives you a good idea of what you're stepping into, and previous year question papers. So because I feel that this is, I don't know about other optionals, but this is a very repetitive optional. Same kind of themes keep repeating again per text. So I wrote every single text, and under that I wrote the themes which are being repeated. So I complete one text with keeping those themes in mind, and then I attempt those answers. One text, one answer, one text, one answer, something like that. And then I combine it and give 3 hour tests.
Okay, I mean, sounds like the strategy that I use. So it sounds like the logical strategy. Yes. PYQs is how I started teaching. I understood, I took time to understand and work out the concepts. And I agree with you that it's very repetitive. The concepts are same. The variations of language is there. But that is where they trick you because slight variation of a word here and there, same concept, it becomes a different question. So that's something I always teach to give each question enough importance and respect, even though it might look like it's a repetitive same question, but it is a new question, right?
Right,
If
right.
you remember, there is a question in Passage to India about muddle, the concept of muddle. So it has been asked in a number of different ways, and every time it's a different question and requires a different angle to that specific question. But when you see muddle and you are a BA or MA student, because that's how we prepare in your MA, कि अच्छा muddle है, अच्छा muddle में जो prepare किया है सब लिख दो,
वही
right?
वही
That's what happens. अरे ये तो muddle वाला
होता
question
है.
है. So I do this exercise कि I give 4 different questions of muddle and test series में, and I know कि वो सबके आंसर वो सेम लिखते हैं, all the 4 different questions, and then I try to explain. One of the questions says, do you agree with Fielding's view that Dr. Aziz is a symbol of India's muddle? Now, most of the students just go on and try to either prove that Dr. Aziz is muddle, or try to disprove that Dr. Aziz is a muddle. Very few actually touch upon the first part, that do you agree with Fielding's view?
Feelings way. Right.
And I feel that is a major part of the question. But आपने मडल देखा, डॉक्टर अजीज देखा, इंडिया सिंबल देखा, and जो भी याद किया है, जो प्रिपेयर है, you just vomit it out. So giving respect to the questions is very, very crucial. And GS questions are easier, I think, in this respect. This optional tricks you in the language of the questions. The concepts are repetitive. Only 3 or 4, maximum 4 concepts per text. Everything is Thankfully, it is so. Because I did my dissertation in James Joyce. So when I saw that James Joyce in the syllabus, I was like, भाई कैसे होगा? मतलब James Joyce एक हफ्ते में मतलब how do you what do you क्या रहे हो आप? But then I looked at the questions. उसमें तो चार कॉन्सेप्ट भी नहीं है, just two or three. So they make it simpler for you. It's not rocket science. The syllabus is precise. At least you know that these are the books that we have to read. And I don't recommend any external book, not even a history of English literature. But uh, poems, prose, everything is very specific. The secondary topics are very specific. And most of the secondary topics you can prepare if you read the texts well. Do you agree with that? Like modernism and Victorian era. So if you've read 4 Victorian prose texts, you'll have a pretty good understanding of the Victorian era from that. Right? You can read around once you put it through.
A little bit. Little bit.
Just a bit, yeah, because if you come from non-literature background, but if you start with a history of English literature text and read about Victorian era, it won't make sense. So I asked to go back, reverse engineer it, read the text, read in memoriam, then put together what you feel about Victorian era, then read a bit outside, go back to your history of English literature text, then it'll make sense. Because the
It's a
questions are
very
always
healthy
going to be
exercise.
from around the text. They won't ask something, absolutely irrelevant. So the questions are always, so that's everything is in there. It's such nice, neat, clean so far based on the present format. If it remains so, it's a very beautiful format. The question lengths are not too long. It Everyone can attempt it. So I think it's doable in 4 to 6 months. 6 months is a pretty good time, and you have shown I'm really happy that you're gonna attempt it next year, and let's see if we create a score that is
Yes.
unprecedented. I'm rooting for you, and I'll be with you all the way.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Another student is attempting this year. She wrote last year, gave the interview as well. So she's attempting this year. So I'm also hoping for her to get past 300. She's really good so far. So a lot of good students coming through, and I really wish you all the best. You don't need luck, all the wishes and the prayers to whatever you choose to do. Join the service, and I'm really delighted that why I wanted to talk to you is when we were corresponding, when you were writing me back. I think I called you once just to understand your background, where you coming
Yes.
from, because when I saw your answer, I was a little surprised. They were really good. And I wanted to know how you achieved that. Because in my experience of trying and teaching and training students, it takes them a lot of time to get to that level. And you were doing all those things that I talk about. So your answers already had that logic and structure. So that's the only reason I talk to you. So when I saw it, I realized that there is nothing much I need to do. आई वोंट डू इट फॉर द सेक ऑफ इट कि अब आंसर्स भेजे हैं, अब मेरे को अपना टीचर वाला दिखाना है कि नहीं ये गलत है ये सही है. आई वॉज रियली डीप डाउन वेरी हैप्पी, एंड आई वॉज रियली होपिंग. उस समय और भी बहुत सारे स्टूडेंट्स थे दोज हु वर राइटिंग मेंस, एंड आई वॉज not surprised about your result, and I was not surprised by other students' results as well. I could see it in the answers. I'm not saying I have that gift, but I can pretty closely predict what's going to happen and the kind of score range. And yours, I was hoping for around 300, but you scored less than 300. You know the reasons for that. We've discussed that. So you can correct upon that. So in terms of your preparation and writing, everything is fine. You just need to write 19 consistently above average good answers. That's it. If you do that, you're there. Cool. Thank you a lot for your time, Atul. Did you feel, are you giving a lot of these interviews?
Yeah. I mean, now it's subsided. Now it's been a long time since the results, so not
Okay,
anymore. But
not
yeah,
anymore. Okay,
back
okay,
then.
okay. I'm just trying to get students to listen to you. And the good thing about you is that you actually, and I haven't, this is a disclaimer, I haven't, what do you say, uh, given Atul a script to say all these things, but you actually reinforced most of what I teach, specifically in terms of answer writing and strategy and approach. So that's a good reinforcement. That's a good testimonial. That's a good because I might be a very good teacher, but you are somebody who has done it for them. So for the aspirants, you are the hero, and you have with great power comes great responsibility. Huh? So you have the responsibility to encourage and get them to see that it's not that rocket science, guys. I have done it. Of course, I really did a lot of hard work and all that you told, but you can do it, and I'll help you do it if needed, right? But
For sure, for sure.
nobody can help anyone else. It's your lonely journey. I I
I'll say the more simple you keep it, I can give my example as a proof. It definitely works.
Hmm. Yeah, you sound like your journey sounds like a pretty straightforward cutout, and you know what you were doing. I loved it. Let's keep in touch. Hopefully,
Sure, sure.
we'll find you somewhere in London or Americas or wherever you want to go, and we'll visit you. And because I really like to travel, I was hoping to visit Navindu in Iran. He's posted in Tehran before the lockdown. He even offered to come during the lockdown. So I wish all my students go for IFS and post it around the world, and so that I get a chance to visit and travel. That's
That
the
would be great. That would be great.
selfish desire. Not really. Jokes apart. Thanks a lot for your time. You
Thank you
remain
so much,
and
sir.
be an
Thank you.
inspiration for everyone else who's following this path. And I wish you all the best, Atul. And thanks a lot for your time,
Thank,
man. Thanks a lot.
thank you, sir.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.
Lot for your time. You
Thank you
remain
so much,
and
sir.
be an
Thank you.
inspiration for everyone else who's following this path. And I wish you all the best, Atul. And thanks a lot for your time,
Thank,
man. Thanks a lot.
thank you, sir.
Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye bye.
Thank you, sir.